them as well. What a move from the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Hello everybody, welcome along to this week number 2 of season 17 of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV, and it's a pleasure to have you here for rounds 3 and 4 of this series. My name is Paul Smith. Alongside me is Connery Maddock for this week. Connery, welcome back to the World GT Championship, and good to have you.
It's an absolute pleasure to be back. It's been a while, let's just say that, but I'm ready and raring to go. Second round of the season, or second race meeting of the season, shall I say. Should be absolutely fun.
It should absolutely be fun. Let's just take a look at where we are then in terms of the schedule, because this week, well, we are at Bathurst after the opening round around the Grand Prix layout of the Nürburgring. Silverstone next week, along then after that is Interlagos, Sebring, Hockenheim and Monza with Road Atlanta, Watkins Glen, Imola, Spa and the Red Bull Ring to finish off the season all the way through into May is when we're going to be finishing the season, and drivers will be hoping to have the chance of a championship to win when we reach that time in May. Speaking of championships, it was a perfect start really for Dino Lombardi. He couldn't ask for any better start to the championship. We'll get to that in a second, because in the AM standings, Aidan Carter, what a performance it was from him, the new driver to the series, ahead of Ben Altria by that 9 points. Then it's 18 points back for another newcomer, Cameron de Bastos from the team Heaped Together an Omnibus Gaming team, ahead of Christander Faseng and Yanaman Pruis, with Luca Monroe, Jack London, Steve Koenig, Simon Andrew Livingston and Alistair Pollock rounding out the AM drivers in the championship. Pro-Am, Joe Newman leads that one just by 5 points ahead of Paul Webster in second place. Nikolai Agard with a brilliant performance last time out finished in third ahead of Adam Watson, Jack Osborne, Andy Jones with Dan Blackwell, Taylor Lane, Will Guthrie and Richard Simner rounding out your top 10 in Pro-Am. But it was the AM Championship and it was an untouchable Dino Lombardi in that opening race, proving his World Championship credentials in the Grid & Go Esports car. He leads that championship by 30 points over James Boumé with Ross McFarlane, Anders Meyer, Alessio Bonino, Alex Cohen with Eric Rousseff, Aidan Young, Bobby Thompson and Alexander Kurz rounding out the top 10 in the pro standings. I can tell he's pretty close in team standings.
Sorry to interrupt you there,
well.
Paul. We'll do the team pro first.
Yes, absolutely. Do the team pro first. It is Altitude Esports by 3M, just 3 points clear in the pro teams ahead of 07 Racing, with Racing Lab Esports Ford in third. WSR Esports Book Kicker ahead of the Next Level Racing WSR car. Then Atomic Esports, Altitude Esports by SimStickers, Hyperion Racing, Full Tilt Motorsport, and WSR Esports Abruzzi. And then in the AM Teams Championships, it is Full Tilt Racing who lead that one. That one is just a 2-point lead that they have over Team Heaped Together and Omnibus Gaming, with Altitude Esports in third with by Mr. Hedge ahead of DCW Racing Blue, Racing Lab Esports Prestanda, Nomad 562, RD Simsport ahead of Full Tilt Competition Series 1 Racing, and DCW Racing Yellow on -8 points. Oh dear, Paddy. That was last week, Paddy Faulkner getting into a few scrapes there. So that's how they've ended up on minus points. But we are at the end of qualifying here. Last few of our pro drivers getting to finish their lap times. Currently it is Dino Lombardi who just leads qualifying ahead of Lorenzo Castellani. But really, Connery, this is going to be a race where you really see those differences between the pros and the Pro-Ams and the AMs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always interesting, you know, when we get some of these races, right, where we get the Pro-Ams, the AMs, the pros, all sort of trying to mix in together. I think that's quite an interesting dynamic as part of the seasons. We've seen it so often. Not that we're seeing much sort of out of place drivers at the moment here in qualifying. Top 10, in fact, top 11, in fact, occupied by pro drivers at the moment. But you know, there is the occasion that here in some of these qualifying sessions, we might see a Pro-Am or even an AM jump up into the top part of the order, and I guess who knows how a reverse grid will turn out.
Now, this is one of the first technical rounds of the season here for the drivers. So this first race is going to be a 30-minute sprint race, so to speak. Then we're going to have, after the spin of reverse wheel, it's going to be a reverse grid 60-minute race. So it's not an endurance race afterwards, but it is a longer race nonetheless, as there is your pole sitter for this race, Dino Lombardi. It really will test out the driver's credentials here behind the wheels, because on the one hand, you want to get yourself the best result possible in this sprint race, because there are championship points available in this race. But on the other hand, you do want to perform well to be able to get a good spot on the grid for the main feature race. So it's that real balancing act that the drivers have got to have. And well, this week it was the Bathurst 12 hours down under. There was a monster accident here at Brock Skyline, and yeah, some significant damage done to some GT3 machinery. That certainly wasn't cheap for them to fix that one. But we are at the end of qualifying. We've just got to wait a few seconds, and then once we have everything in place, we'll be able to go through the starting grid. The drivers do start down
through our starting grid. So this is Dino Lombardi in starting P1, then Castellani then P2, Alessio Bonio in P3 with James P6. Further on back, you got Jack Cedric with Anders Meyer, then you got Ola Daniel, then Alexander Davidson rounding out on the 10th spot there. Then you've got Alex Kahn and Nikolai Agard. Agard's the first of the Pro-Am drivers taking their grid spots. Then you got David Baker in P13, Adam Watson P14, Evdoka, Tompkins, Staten, Thompson bringing things down to P18 on the starting grid. Then you got Alexander Kurtz, Paul Webster bringing things down to P20. Then you got Chatterton, Tregertha, Jones and Gray rounding out the top 24. And if you're back, Paul, you can continue on.
I'm hoping I'm back. It's mainly if you can hear me.
I can hear
that's the main thing. Oh, that's good that you can hear me. So, yeah, Joe Newman, Arthur Fertel ahead of Kristander Thasang. Then Dan Blackwell ahead of Will Guthrie and Alessandro Toccio rounding out row 15. The 16th row, Richard Simner, Dan McCauley, with Tom Stanley, Ben Roberts, Tim Perry and Aidan Carter. Then further down, still Alex Schmidt, Michael Seal, Luca Munro and Benald Trier. That's row 20. 21st row is Jack London and Adam Hedgecock. Got a big grid here, so we're firing through this. Alistair Pollock here alongside Jesse Payne Wilkins with Ben Gregory and Drew Fletcher. Taylor Lane and Cameron De Bestos rounding out those positions there. Then it is Janeman Pruss ahead of Steve Koenig with Aidan Young and David Vey. Jack Osborne and Paddy Faulkner on 54th, and still we've got more cars to come. Phil Samways, Josh Boot, Simon Andrew Livingston rounding out your 57 car grid. And we managed to get that done right when the drivers are pulling away from the gridding place. So, here we go then. It is round number 3 of the World GT Championship. Pleasure to have you all along here. And it's all about survival on these opening couple of laps.
It absolutely is when you have 57 cars out there on circuit, all trying to occupy the same amount of space. Turn 1's particularly tricky. They're not much of a straight from the go to onto the brakes in towards turn number 1, so they'll all still be stacked up into their pole.
Certainly will, but we're under the charge of Dino Lombardi and Lorenzo Castellani alongside him. We're going to have the green flag in the air. We're underway once again for week number 2, round 3 of the World GT Championship, and up towards that first corner at Hell Corner, through the right-hander, and then it's up Mountain Straight now. Drivers, the first important thing is getting through Hell Corner, and then up Mountain Straight, heading towards Quarry Bend, up and over the rise. They go, drop back down, and then it's hard onto the brakes into Quarry. Drivers still fanning themselves out too wide further back, but at the front they're pretty much single file as they work their way up the hill now towards the cutting. The left-hander, really high walls, difficult corners to get right through Griffin's Mount, and then Reed Park, Sullivan Park are the next couple of corners. Head towards the top of the mountain at McPhillamy Park, which is the really fast left-hander before you head to Skyline. And it's one of the most tricky corners to get right. It's this corner coming up right here. As looking further back down the field, still sorting themselves out over the top of the mountain. Staying green flag racing though. Adam Tompkins, Proud Student Esports by 3M. Through Skyline, down the hill now, through the Essers into the Dipper. A steep incline down here, and still we're going downhill towards Forest Elbow. Really tricky left-hander, and you've got to carry the speed then through this left-hander onto the Conrod Straight. Flat out now, pretty much the length of the Conrod Straight here. And then you're going to be through the right-hander at the Chase. And then onto the brakes, and then through the Chase, the left and then the right. Sorry about the technical issues. It's the big grid. It's a lot for us to deal with here as we're heading down towards Murray's Corner to end the lap then. So it is Dino Lombardi who leads ahead of Castellani and Bonino rounding out the top 3. Then it's James Boumé ahead of Ross McFarlane, Eric Rousseff is in 6th place. We've got a number of cars with mechanical meatball warning flags, I can tell you. It is Ben Altria, one of our top AMs. He's one of them. Josh Boot, I believe, was another one. Alex Schmidt has got one, so too Michael Seal. Adam Hedgecock and Aidan Carter, they're all heading towards pit road. Still at the front, it's Lombardi who leads this one as we're heading towards the left-hander at the cutting. And through we go for another lap here. These drivers working their way through, trying to make this one count for them. And, well, I can tell you that these drivers, they'll be pushing over the top of the mountain. You have to push through the top of the mountain because, quite frankly, it's what you have to do here to make this work. And to get this one all working, because if you take it easy through the top of the mountain there, it will cause you issues, and it will cause you to have major problems because you won't be going as a fuller speed as you would normally be going. But down the chase once again, and well, the driver's heading towards the chase once again. We have got a car stopped up over the top of the mountain, taking a tour back to pit road. That's Drew Fletcher. So issues for drivers further down in the order.
Yeah, perhaps. And we do apologize for technical issues here. We're just going to take a short moment here just to try and make sure things are going to be stabilizing themselves out. Again, we do apologize for this, but it's a big grid, and sometimes these things happen. We'll be back in a moment, folks.
this race. Anders Meyer up 2 places into 6th place ahead of Jack Sedgwick, with Alex Davidson, your reigning champion, in 8th place ahead of Ola Daniel and Alex Cohen, rounding out your top 10. We have had a big issue though for James Boumé. He's had to come onto pit road and get repairs done to his car, so that means that he's all the way down the order in 33rd. Your top Pro-Am, it is Nikolai Agard, who's in 11th place, just gain of 1 place. He's 2 places though ahead of Adam Watson, who's 2nd place in Pro-Am, and then Paul Webster 3rd in Pro-Am. Down the order in Am, it is still Crisada Fasang, who is in 1st place in Am, in 25th overall. Then ahead of, if we go down to Tom Stanley in 31st, so a bit of a gap between those drivers. And then further down still, Dan McCauley in 35th place. So that's the positions where people stand right now. Pleasure to have you all along here with us, and we're on board with the 07 Racing driver Alex Cohen, with Adam Watson there, right not that far behind, as we've got a car stopped at the Murray's Corner, car 26. Now, that's Drew Fletcher. He's had issues in this race already, so he's further down the order, and he's just having one bad thing happen after another here in this one. Up the mountain they go once again, and we'll be carrying on at the front. But there's a change further back there. There's a car getting out the way. So I believe that's just lap traffic who have had to be on pit road, getting out the way of some of your leaders coming up the mountain straight. And if you're going to let anyone by, it's got to be on that mountain straight, because really over the top of the mountain there is no space whatsoever to work your way through. Here's a replay, dive to the inside from the Altitude Esports car and contact with the DCW Racing car, and well, they both end up spinning around and having to sort themselves out at the chase. So as we head on up over the top of the mountain again, and really, these 3 at the front, they've stayed where they are, but to be honest, they've been able to pull a little bit of a gap over Ross McFarlane, who is in 4th. And I think that these 3 are just going to stay as they are as they go through the order here. These 3 at the front, of course, 3 of our Italian contingent. You've got Lombardi, of course, as I say, World Championship driver. You've got Castellani, who's there in that 07 Racing car, and then right behind is Benino, again another one of your Italian contingent here, and that's what is happening here. Will Guthrie in the Pro-Am for Full Tilt Motorsport is going down the chase right now following the Mustang, and that Porsche, hopefully we do have Connery with us in the commentary booth again, but that Porsche not the best down the straights compared to the grunt of that Mustang in front of it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where all the differences factor in. Of course, you know, you can do your best with balance of performance and some such, but there's no getting around sometimes. The sort of natural advantages and disadvantages of each car at certain portions of the circuit. It's a balancing act to try to strike, but it's always interesting when we've got cars that could perhaps do similar lap times, but just in different ways, and you can see how that gap closes up and stretches over the course of a lap.
Yeah, absolutely. So, especially with this mountain now, it's worth pointing out to people watching at home that this is one of the couple of races where we're actually getting a specific balance of performance adjustment for the track, and turbocharged cars, I'll get those words out easily for me, have got a 2% power reduction here at Bathurst compared to the naturally aspirated cars. So we're seeing at the front the Acura is just dominating things. The first 5 cars all Acuras before the Mustang of Anders Meyer in 6th place. So it really seems to be an Acura track, this one.
Yeah, and perhaps there will be the cases, similar tracks over the course of this season, you know, because unless any particular changes are going to be made here in that sense. But yeah, that's just the way things happen. Something you have to look before the season. Okay, what sort of tracks are going to come up? What are the likely strong cars going to be? And hope you're on the good side of the balance of performance as well. It's when you make a good call on that one, you're kind of laughing for the rest of the season. Sometimes
Alex Cohen and Ola Daniel then swapping places in that one, but Daniel won't give this one up without a fight. It's Italian versus Hungarian through the left-hander at Hell Corner, a little bit wide there from Daniel, but will now have the slipstream going up the mountain straight. Flash of the headlights there as well. Not too happy with getting the nose chopped off by the 07 car to the outside, heading into Quarry Bend, but that's a very difficult move to make around the outside there, and that means that drivers will just have to stay as they are for the time being. So 9th and 10th switching places, and not that far behind is Nikolai Agard, our Pro-Am, who last week had a very, very good result. In fact, up to it's switching because a couple of technical issues for Ola Daniel there, but our timing screen just giving us a little bit of erroneous messages there for a moment. But Daniel does stay in 10th place right now. But Anders Nikolai Agard, 11th place, top Pro-Am, had a really good showing last week, Connery, and is looking strong again this week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about stringing those performances together, isn't it? At the opening portion of this season, you want to get off on the best foot possible, and seems like he's done that so far. Looking pretty good, pretty positive. These seasons do tend to get a little long in terms of the race count, at least, because remember, we're not just doing one race a week here. For most of the time, we're doing multiple. So it's a lot of events to get in your calendar and to complete out there on circuit, but you get a good couple of results here at the start of the season. It's going to set you up very, very well for your championship. But I'm interested to see a lot of these cars still stacked together at this stage in the race. Of course, you know, first race of this race meeting, drivers still getting used to running around each other. Of course, a lot of these drivers will have competed in series previous, but there may be a couple of new names that are still trying to find their footing and trying to get used to running around others as well, especially when there's so many.
James Boumet then 42nd right now in this race. It's been an absolute nightmare for one of our former pro champions all the way down the order, and there's a whole list of drivers who have been on pit road. I can tell you, Ben Altria, Taylor Lane, Michael Seal, also had Adam Hedgecock, Alistair Pollock, Jan-Man Pruss, Simon Andre Livingston, Alex Schmidt. They've all been on pit road. Then you've got a few drivers who are out of the race: Andy Jones, Drew Fletcher, Aidan Carter, Paddy Faulkner. Phil Samways, I don't think, actually took the race start in all of this. So, yeah, it was certainly a bit of a chaotic start to the race, but, and not just from us in the broadcast either, but for the drivers out there as well, it has been hectic. But this is what Bathurst gives you. It's a track of two halves, effectively, isn't it? It's long straights with opportunities of overtaking, but then it's up over the mountain where it's really, really one line through there.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, you've got to be someone brave to try and pull it alongside through there. Yes, we see it. Does it end well in the vast majority of the cases? Probably not. So definitely not even at this stage of the race. Maybe even on a last lap sort of desperate attempt you might, but there are better opportunities after you come off the mountain in towards the chase to be able to get a pass done. So even then, you probably won't see too many drivers going for it. But there is a little bit of frustration sometimes when you're sat behind someone you know you're faster than on the mountain section. However, there is no way by. Perhaps you're more of a precise driver. You can hit those apexes, get as close to those walls as possible. But if you're fast in that section, you can't really pass in that section though. So it all becomes very moot unless you can get it done somewhere else.
Phil Samways, by the way, thank you very much in the YouTube chat. Registered for the session but had PC issues. We feel your pain.
Join the club.
Up the mountain straight then, and he's 21st and 22nd, full tilt against altitude through the right-hander quarry, and it's the altitude car that keeps ahead then for the moment. So through they go. Another one of the full tilt cars right behind as well. The interesting stat for you, by the way, today here, Connery, for your delectation.
I love myself an interesting stat.
This is, and get this, so it's the 17th season of the championship. The one driver who has competed in every championship season. Who is it? At a guess. Oh, the altitude car!
Oh.
Big moment there through the dipper. And that's Adam Tompkins then dropping down. Absolutely, Adam obviously distracted by my interesting stat there, but or certainly interesting question for the stat. But Tompkins, yeah, big moment at the dipper there.
I'm trying to think about your question still.
well, we'll see about that. Adam, he's just gone straight. He's been fortunate there that it's not given him a mechanical meatball warning flag. Jack Sedgwick's onto pit road. Something's happened to Jack. And it's not a penalty either, I can tell you that. So I don't know what's happened. He must have picked up some damage that is causing him to have serious issues to be able to have to pit.
Yeah, he's not a meatball flag, but obviously bad enough that he has to come down in and feels like he can't continue. So that Corvette is coming back out the pit lane now, actually. So 7.1 seconds on the stop there. Just a short one for Cedric, but it does start getting him back down in towards P23. Not the place we expect Jack Cedric to be, but yeah, that's a tough one. And we'll have to try and figure out what happened there, because there's certainly an intriguing one. No obvious reason to come down on towards the pit lane, but there might have been something subtle. He might have hit the wall on the mountain somewhere and knocked the tracking out enough that he was concerned about it and had to come down in.
Yeah, and you've got to get close to the walls to make this all work, really. And it just takes one little mistake, and before you know it, you, as you say, knock the tracking out, knock the steering out of a line. Could have been, Matt Fletcher asks, qualifying fuel. I think that's a bit late in the race to have qualifying. Qualifying's only 10 minutes long per class, so I think that's a little bit long in the race for it to be qualifying fuel, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I'm just going to look at Cedric's previous lap and see if there's anywhere obvious, at least he had a bit of an issue. But that lap was still pretty on pace, all things considered. I'm just watching his descent down the mountain, or at least on my side, to see, again, if any issues arose, but looking all right.
Yeah, I wonder if he's maybe done it a couple of laps before and tried driving through it and thought, it's a bit much. It's all conjecture from us here as Chadderton for the Prestanda Nomad team, 17th behind Adam State, who I was incorrectly saying is an AM driver. No, that wasn't Adam State, that was Slate, wasn't it? Last week that I was saying incorrectly, but we've got things sorted anyway for this round. Now, Anders Meyer, 6th place, the top of the cars that isn't an Acura. Can't really do much about Ross McFarlane, the driver in front, the 4-time champion in front of him. and he just, whatever he does, he can't seem to get past this big brute of a Mustang up over the top of the mountain. Not quite as nimble as that Acura.
No, it's not, and you can just see 5th place just extending, stretching their legs through this entire section, and not that much that Maya can really do about it. It does close up heading down through Skyline, perhaps a little bit of a better line, a little bit later on the bricks for him, but again, the longer Rusev just sort of makes absolute perfection out of those apexes and those exits, the more he's going to pull away. But let's see if Anders Meyer can potentially do something down on the slipstream coming down in towards the chase. But we'll have to see. It does close in, but is it going to be enough to make a move?
You are right, by the way. It was Eric Rousseff, not Ross McFarlane. But McFarlane's the next car up. So as onto the brakes goes Meyer. That Mustang, though, it does seem to be that people have really picked up how to drive that Mustang now and can really wheel that car to get some performances out of it. Of course, in the real world, just this last week or so, winners at Daytona. So they know how to win the Ford. They're just announcing that they're actually going to be going into the very top class of endurance racing as well, Ford. So be interested to see how they're able to progress. But this GT3, GTD, whatever you want to name it, it certainly looks a menacing thing when you're looking at it from the rear bumper. Can't hear Connery, unfortunately. It's been one of those days where everything seems to happen here on this broadcast. We end up with something happening, but whatever. I could see you talk. The thing is, I can actually see I can see on my end Connery on the webcam. I could see him talking away, but nothing was coming our end. Hopefully, that's all sorted now. Oh, that's wide from Meyer.
High muff moment, that's for certain. And apparently I'm back now. There we go. But yeah, that was going to very quickly be a very concerning incident on the mountain there. But thankfully, Maya was able to gather it up without causing a major incident and potential road blockage. Of course, if there's going to be one track where we'll see a safety car this season, Paul, it would be this one.
I think Meyer also managed to find himself the one bit of track over the mountain where there is some runoff.
Yeah.
That helped matters massively.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not a lot of room for error, and he found the tiny little bits of room for error that it is afforded to you.
Jack Sedgwick just battered the wall on the Forest Elbow exit there, so that won't help his car much as he is in 23rd. Trying to do a recovery drive now. Of course, we have got the reverse grid wheel once again. 15 to 25 plus 2 potential full reverses. We saw the full reverse last week. There you go, there's that slam into the wall. We saw the full reverse grid last week. It was a heck of a welcome to the series for a lot of our new coming drivers to have that full reverse grid, because it was literally just one driver, Paddy Faulkner, who missed out on it.
Oh, yeah, that's the rule, isn't it? You have to be, was it within one lap down, or yeah, within one lap down. So it's yeah, that sucks. That really sucks. But yeah, that's when you get your full reverse grids in this series, like all bets are off, right? You know, pretty much anyone could come through and win that race if we get a full reverse grid. That's usually the set of circumstances that arise, because trying to do a last to first challenge with 56 cars on the grid, that's a tall order even for some of our best drivers.
Well, we are on the last lap. Your leaders, Dino Lombardi, coming through Forest Elbow. Got a little bit of traffic ahead that will have to negotiate if they do catch up to it, of course. That's car 38, Stephen Koenig, who they're catching up to. So the grid and go driver, Dino Lombardi, it's once again been a lights to flag race for him here as we go into the chase for the final time in this 30-minute race. Through the left, through the right. He can't slow down though because Castellani and Bonino right behind him, pushing him all the way to the checkered flag. But out of Murray's he goes, and he will be a race winner once again. 2 wins out of 3 races for Dino Lombardi of Grid & Go Esports. And then Nikolai Agard looking back to 10th place. Well, had a few heart-in-mouth moments for himself, but he gets himself a Pro-Am win here today. Good result for Nikolai once again. And then if we look down in your AMs, the top AM, I do believe, is Tom Stanley, who is down in 31st. There is Tom, but right behind is the second-placed AM driver, Kristada Thasang, heading into Murray's once again. But Stanley out the final corner and across the line to take an AM victory here in the World GT Championship. Good results for those drivers. Connery, I mean, we've still got a bit of time to kill because Steve Koenig, who was the last driver across the line, he's just made it to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, absolutely. Bit of a long lap. I mean, for the leaders, it's over 2 minutes. Well, just shy of 2 minutes. Well, on the other side, you know what I mean. 2 minutes 3 is what they were doing. But as they head their way across the line now, yet more runners finishing their events here, at least for the first race of this of these proceedings this evening. What a race it was for Dino Lombardi, though. It's he was run close all the way to the end. Don't get me wrong, but in another way, there wasn't really any doubt, right? Because Castellani didn't really give him too much of a hard time.
But kept him honest, though, and that's what you need to do, especially around here, with there being so many opportunities to be able to have incidents. We have had just in the YouTube chat asking Dan Blackwell, isn't he AM? Well, in the session, I am seeing a Pro-Am moniker next to his name. I'm now going to consult. Well, we're going to the rule book and to the championship to be able to tell you that Dan Blackwell is a Pro-Am, so therefore isn't the top placed AM. Thank you very much. We have got the spin of the reverse grid wheel, and it is going to be 21. It's going to be a reverse grid, so Jack Sedgwick. Oh, he's got the look for the second race. Let's take you through then your results then after round number 3 of the World GT Championship here, and it's Dino Lombardi for Grid & Go Esports. Once again, a race winner ahead of the 207 Racing drivers of Lorenzo Castellani and Alessio Bonino. Ross McFarlane, 4-time champion in the past. He finishes 4th ahead of Eric Rousset in 5th, with Anders Meyer 6th ahead of Alex Davidson, the returning Alex Davidson, to defend his Pro Championship. Alex Cohen, Ola Daniel, and then Nikolai Agard is the top Pro-Am driver in 10th place. David Baker then 11th ahead of Michael Avdoka and Alexander Kurz. Adam Watson then is the second place Pro-Am driver in 14th ahead of Bobby Thompson and Adam State. Michael Gray finishes off the Pro-Am podium in 17th ahead of Chris Chatterton, Paul Webster and Joe Newman. As I said, on pole position for race number 2, Jack Sedgwick in 21st, ahead of Will Guthrie, Adam Tompkins and Arthur Thurtle. Now, it does say Dan Blackwell. It says AM there on our screen, but I can tell you that he is a Pro-Am, so he is not your top AM here in this one. He finishes 25th, ahead of Richard Simner and Aidan Young. Leah Dragertha, Alessandra Toccio and Ben Roberts rounding out in 30th. Tom Stanley then followed at 31st ahead of Kristada Thasang. Those two finishing pretty close together, and your top AMs ahead of Jack Osborne and Tim Perry. Dan McCauley then in 35th rounds out your podium in AM ahead of Josh Boot. Ben Gregory, who by the way is the only driver to compete in every season of the World GT Championship. Luca Monroe in 38th, the newcomer to the series, ahead of a previous pro driver champion of James Boumé, who had issues there in that first race. Jack London rounds out the 40th. 41st for David Vey, ahead of Cameron de Bastos with Ben Altria and Jesse Payne-Wilkins. Taylor Lane is then in 45th ahead of Michael Seal. Adam Hedgecock and Stephen Koenig, the last of the drivers on the lead lap. Alistair Pollock, Simon Andre Livingston 1 lap down, along with Jan-Man Pruis and Alex Schmidt. Then it's Andy Jones, who did not finish, along with Drew Fletcher and Paddy Faulkner. And Aidan Carter in 56th, with Phil Samways not taking the race start. So, Connery, after a chaotic race, not just for the drivers, but for us in the broadcast booth, we're here. And, well, first race done, 30 minutes. We're now going to double the length of that race and throw in an inverted grid for the top 21. How does that mix things up for the drivers?
It's intriguing because you mentioned at the time, Jack Sedgwick getting himself reverse grid pole position. He needed a saving grace after that first race. He got himself one. So we perhaps may expect to see him attempt to at least pull away at the very front of the field. We'll have to see if he's successful in doing so or not. We have to remind ourselves that the Corvette, probably not the car of choice for this particular circuit. Can he hold a leading advantage potentially at the end of the first couple of laps when you've got some hard charging occurrers coming through? That is going to be the unanswered question for this particular race. But for everyone else, of course, at least it's not a full reverse grid like last time, so maybe it might be a bit more of a tame affair.
I think the drivers also, what really finished it off was the fact that the second race last week with a full reverse grid had rain as well. It did give us a really exciting finish to the race, though, with it drying out. So I think the drivers, given the circuit, I think they would be secretly preferring if it didn't rain.
Yeah, it's, we have a bias in a sense that we want to see rain because rain is entertaining. Same with probably a lot of the viewers, but the drivers may take a different stance, especially considering you've got a Monaco-like middle sector, which adding is already difficult in the dry. Adding rain to it, yeah, that's going to be sketchy.
Sketchy is the right word. I have done races in the rain around here in GT3 machinery and iRacing official races, and I can tell you there's no worse feeling than hitting the brakes and then just heading straight for the wall at turn 2. I know that pain very, very well, but hopefully we do get some dry weather, because I think, especially with this venue, it's tricky enough as it is. The drivers, I think we can cut them a little bit of a slack. Yeah, just this time,
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But we'll have to see what the iRacing gods decide to bestow upon us, as I am eagerly awaiting. The new session, is launching, so we'll get to see in a couple of seconds what the conditions are. But yeah, it was. I'm very happy that we didn't get to see the safety car come out, because we want more green flag racing, right? So that start was actually pretty clean from pretty much everyone involved. I was impressed that we got pretty much 56 cars through the mountain section without a problem the first time.
Near enough, yeah. There was a few with the mechanical meatball warning flags, but it wasn't track blockage style. That is for sure. I could tell you from being in the session, we will not be getting any rain. So I could tell you that now for sure, that the drivers will be breathing a huge sigh of relief. But before we go to ad break, I just want to ask you something here, Connery. It's a 1 hour race now. How does that affect things? How does that affect the driver's mentality going into the second race of the evening?
It depends on where you start. If you're Jack Sedgwick, your attitude is get as much of the gap in the early stages as you can, because that's going to be eaten into by some of the faster drivers in faster cars that are going to come through on you. So you want to have as much of a buffer as possible. If you're starting, if you're a net negative on the reverse grids. So Lombardi, for example, you want to be pushing forward as fast as possible. For pretty much everyone else, they can take perhaps a little bit more of a relaxed approach. The track position isn't as important for them at this stage of the race, or at least the opening stage of the race, as it would have been in that shorter race. So because there's a lot more time to make up, essentially.
Well, stick around, because in 6 minutes' time, it's race 2 of the evening, round number 4 of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. But we'll be right back after these messages.
All of them as well. What a move for the 48. Oh, look at this. And onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Welcome back then to live coverage of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. It is rounds number 3 and 4 of season 17 of this championship. Pleasure to have you all along with us here. And we have got hot track temperatures. The drivers, I can pretty much guarantee they'll all be looking at the conditions thinking, I need to take tyres at the pit stop.
Yeah, that's getting to the point where we'll see that. You wouldn't have thought so. You're normally in an hour-long race, but you know, with a mandatory stop. But yeah, that's the yes, that's spicy temperatures. Let's just say that. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be very hot, very slick, very slidey out there potentially. Add that to how treacherous the track can be sometimes. I'm not looking forward to this if I'm a driver.
No, that's understatement of the century. I think the hottest I've ever seen for a Porsche Taycan Esport Super Cup race was a 58 degrees track temperature in Interlagos that Kevin Ellis Jr. won. Interesting news for Kevin this week with him announcing to a new team, so best of luck to him and the rest of that outfit. It looks like to be a really good, strong lineup there. But for a few of our drivers here on the grid, I'm thinking more the Pro-Ams and Ams. They're maybe not used to running a 1 hour race with these temperatures. What do they need to do to adjust themselves to these conditions?
Don't bite off more than you can chew, because you are in potentially a bit of an unknown. Unless you've done a lot of hot weather running before, you know, with other leagues, for example, then you may not be familiar with these conditions. I mean, if you run this track a lot, you know, it is part of the random element of the weather that is kind of similar to the climate that where the track is located. So if you run into Lagos a lot, if you run this a lot, generally you might be more used to those higher temperatures. But if you don't, then that is that's going to be a big concern. So you just want to maybe just take a couple % off your pace here, just to make sure that you're not going to get find yourself in a concrete wall at some point over the course of this hour. And then maybe towards the middle, towards the end, you can start to feel more comfortable. You can pick up the speed a little bit better, and you're acclimatized to the conditions then. But for the start of this race, yeah, just take it easy.
Right, so, yeah, look after those tyre temperatures and don't put a big load through them at the start of your stint. That's going to be key for these drivers here. Well, we are getting ourselves set for the race. You've heard of games done quick. Well, this is going to be grid done quick for us. 56 cars to get through. So it is Jack Sedgwick on pole position. Alongside him is Joe Newman with Paul Webster and Chris Chatterton on the second row. Michael Gray and Adam State sharing row number 3. The fourth row, Bobby Thompson and Adam Watson with Alexander Kurz and Michael Evdoka. David Baker, Nikolai Agard then on row number 6. The seventh row is Daniel and Alex Cohen with Alex Davidson and Anders Meyer on the 8th row. 9th row for Eric Rousseff and Ross McFarlane. Row number 10, Alicia Bonino and Lorenzo Castellani with Dino Lombardi, our race winner from the first race, starting on the 11th row. Alongside him, Will Guthrie. Adam Tompkins and Arthur Thurtle then on row number 12. The 13th row is Dan Blackwell and Richard Simner with Aidan Young, Leo Tregurtha, Alessandro Toccio and Ben Roberts round out row number 15. 16th row is Tom Stanley and Christada Thasang with Jack Osborne, Tim Perry, Dan McCauley and Josh Boot. And then it's Ben Gregory and Luca Monroe ahead of James Boumet. What can he do from row 20? Alongside him, Jack London with David Vey and Cameron de Bastos. Then it's Ben Altria, Jesse Payne Wilkins, Taylor Lane and Michael Seal with Adam Hedgecock, Steve Koenig, and then Alistair Pollock and Simon Andre Livingston on row number 25. Row 26 for Jan-Man Pruis and Alex Schmidt with Andy Jones and Drew Fletcher. And the final row of the grid, Paddy Faulkner and Aidan Carter. There we go. Grid done quick. That's going to be a new challenge for people out there. 56 cars, all heading towards Murray's Corner to start the race. We saw in the first race that Dino Lombardi went early on corner exit. What will Jack Sedgwick do here in his Chevy? Well, we're about to find out. The green flag's in the air. We're underway for round number 4 of the World GT Championship, heading towards Hell Corner for lap number 1. And is everybody going to get through nice and clean? Running wide is Joe Newman. Nikolai Agard is off. And off comes the rear wing of that car as well. Up the mountain straight for the first time. Newman still in second place ahead of Chatterton and Michael Gray as they're heading 2 by 2 up towards Quarry Bend on lap number 1. Cold tyres for these drivers, getting them up to pressure. Contact! Can Eric Rousseff hold it? No, he can't. He's around, and can everybody keep out of his way? Oh, he's lucky that there's a bit of an escape road there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a slow car on the mountain as well. That's how Torchio has decided to bring the car down towards the pit lane. We've got another incident on the mountain as well. Jesse Payne-Wilkins in the number 355, stranded on the outside of the circuit. Not a full track blockage, no need for a safety car as they continue on towards the very top of the mountain before they start their descent now through Skyline. A bit more drama this time around on the first lap, but the front runners at least have gotten themselves single file and all sorted out.
Jack Sedgwick trying to break a breakaway at the front then. He's 1.2 seconds clear at the head of the field in the Chevy, ahead of the Ford Mustang of John Newman. We've got multiple drivers with mechanical meatball warning flags. Ben Altria once again has got one. Adam Tompkins, Yaman Pruis and Alessandro Torchio, as you mentioned, Connery, taking the tour back to pit road at the cutting. So drivers heading down the chase, just one after the other, flying up over that rise, and then they head through the quick right-hander into the chase, which is the left, and then the right. Car running wide, they're off into the gravel, into the grass. What on earth? That must be one of our damaged cars. Yeah, it's Altria.
Yeah, I saw Ben Altria dropping down the order. That was a big off. Just the tracking completely messed up on that car. He's struggling to hold it in a straight line and ended up having a big off-circuit moment. Thankfully, it didn't cause an absolutely humongous incident, but surely he's going to have to bring that car down all towards the pit lane. It does have, I'm just double-checking, yeah, it does have a meatball flag, so he does have to come down in.
Oh, and we've got cars chopping and changing. Michael Evdoka looking to the inside and getting the place and holding on to the place, should I say, is Evdoka. He's got Ola Daniel and Alex Davidson there with him. And,
so I've lost Paul there once again. So we're continuing on with this train of cars heading their way through. It's a fantastic sight to see when you've got this single file line on the mountain, and every single driver having a massive challenge to even get through the section unscathed, let alone get through it quickly. A little bit of a flash to the lights there down in towards Skyline. A little bit unhappy driver going on there, but for the moment, for Bobby Thompson, 7th place at the moment. Trying to make some forward progress thanks to the reverse grid. Got Alexander Kurtz ahead of him as the two McLarens work their way around. RD Sim Sport car in the wall. It is the number 48 car. That's Leo Chigurtha, I believe.
It certainly is. Hopefully you have me now, Connery. Yeah, so down the Conrad Straight, yes, it was Leo Chigurtha who was in the wall there at the dipper. And then they do carry on then. So, as we head on through, once again, car number 18 is the WSR Esports Porsche. As we look back at the start, that's what happened to Nikolai Agard at Hell Corner, and just that, because the rear wing hangs over, it just made contact with the barrier, and that loses him a rear wing.
Yeah. There's Rosef hanging around the, well, trying to hold it around the outside, but just gets collected in front behind as well, and has to sit there in the most frustrating position of all, waiting for the rest of the field to head their way through. Jesse Wilkins with contact with the rear, heavy into the wall on the left-hand side before the cutting there, and you know, is able to get out of the way and let everyone go, but a little bit frustrating seeing that car behind. You think you picked the right lane to get around it, but then you're having to do the same thing as Wilkins and just wait for everyone to come through. Adam Tompkins had big issues as well, having to take to the runoff down Skyline.
Yeah, and to be honest, again, that's one of the few places. This is the problems that Altria had trying to get the car recovered back to pit road, down the Conrad Straight, and he was trying to do it at speed, which if you've got major problems keeping the car in a straight line, that is really difficult to do, as we'll look at what happened to Ben Altria in all of this as well. So there was a car off there. Jesse Payne-Wilkins gets nerfed, and then Altria gets nerfed from behind as well. So do yellow flags... well, it's easy for us to say from the commentary boxes. That's what happened to Alex Schmidt. But yeah, yellow flags are out. Should you be taking it careful? I think so.
I mean, especially where you may only have one lane to pick, as RD Sensport around there. Another car involved as well. Didn't quite catch the number, but yeah, you got to be a little bit cautious. Of course, sometimes yellow flags in iRacing can be a little spurious in some instances. But I think on lap 1 and a circuit such as this, you kind of have to take them as gospel and back off quite a bit to make sure that you're able to get yourself through unscathed. A couple of bits of changes for position a little bit further back there, heading their way across the start-finish line. Alex Davidson involved in this with Paul Webster and Anders Meyer. Meyer on the inside into Hell Corner and just about gets it done. Look at how much Webster gets washed out though onto the outside of the corner, and he's going to get mugged now all the way down this straight.
Alex Cohen decided now's the time to pit. So I wonder if they had damage. They've not got a mechanical meatball warning flag, but I think they're just getting onto pit road and getting some repairs done potentially for them. So they've dropped down the order. Nightmare of a second race here. But this is what happens when you get a reverse grid. Steve Koenig, he's clipped that curve on the right-hander, unsettles the car, and collects another car with him.
Absolutely. It's innocent bystander in that one as well. Didn't quite catch the number of that one of the other driver involved.
I think it was Payne Wilkins.
Again. Oh yeah, it was. There's the onboard. It's not what you want to see. Such a high-speed portion of circuit. You're doing your maximum speed coming down in towards that the entry into the chase there, and just to have an incident like that is a very, very scary one indeed. And Jesse Payne Wilkins' day goes from bad to worse. So an incident on the opening lap 1, and an incident now. He's essentially potentially decided to call it quits now.
The hype Schmidt is not very hyped at the moment because Alex Schmidt is down in 49th at the moment, so Tino won't be happy with that in the YouTube chat as we carry on. But as we get towards the 9-minute mark, we're just over 8 minutes. Jack Sedgwick has got a handy lead right now. 3.3 seconds is the lead over Joe Newman, who is the top Pro-Am driver in all of this, leading 2 other Pro-Ams in Chris Chatterton and Michael Gray. It's been interesting to watch this, Connery, because Adam State, Alexander Kurtz, Bobby Thompson, of course, who has touring car experience in the British Touring Car Championship, all of those drivers have not been able to work their way forward past Gray, Chatterton and Newman.
Yeah, they've done very well in terms of holding position here. That's previously what I would have expected to see at really any other circuit with those reverse grids. Those are at the front in race 1, getting knocked back from the reverse grid, but usually slowly but steadily they try and get themselves back through, and you usually find them towards the podium positions by the second half, or if not the final third of the race. But right now, not too easy going for those drivers that were put out of position due to the reverse grid. So it's interesting to see how this develops. I wonder if they have a particular plan regarding the pit stop about when they're going to come in, because if they feel like they're being held up with no way through at the moment, then you can pit off cycle or slightly off cycle just to get a couple of laps of clear running, and then you can try and affect the overtake in the pit stop. But that is a risky option, and you've also got the tyres versus no tyres decision at the moment, which we don't ever expect to have to consider in these races. But with the track temp of 48 degrees Celsius, I think we just might. It has cooled off since the warm-up session a little bit because we had cloud cover in the opening portions of the race, but if this sun lingers around for any longer, it's going to be getting very toasty again, as there's Leo Chugurtha's incident in RD Simsport.
That's a second incident then this race for Leo, so it goes from bad to worse for Leo. Bad to worse? I swear, but today's been a fun one, that is for sure. But yeah, Leo Tregerfa gets back up and running then, and carries on in this race, the RD Sim Sport driver. Michael Gray, Chris Chatterton is dropping down the order on our screen, but that's an internet thing because he's just popped back up into third place. I was wondering what was happening there. But the leaders are actually catching up to car 38, who is going to be lapped. And Stephen Koenig, yeah. Ooh. So we've got moves being made down the inside of Michael Gray, Adam State, and finally he's able to make that move stick, and here comes Curse in all of this.
Yeah, absolutely, to the outside, grazing the wall in towards the cutting. Kurtz might end up losing the position to Bobby Thompson here, absolutely door to door through the mountain section between these two McLarens, fighting out wheel to wheel, and they're leaning on each other again as they come up towards McPhillamy Park. Who's going to back out? Someone has to.
No, neither of them will back out. They're both racers. They're both racing hard, and finally Thompson makes that move stick. He saw an opportunity arise to go to the inside at the cutting, but my goodness, talk about aggressive driving. Good grief! I thought we were going to have a monster of an accident at the top of the mountain there.
Yeah, I thought so too, but my word, we do have an incident, but it's not the one we were expecting. At the back there, I think it's Ola Daniel, number 99, having an issue there, and he's going to get, be ahead of these two that are fighting in behind Jesse King Wilkins, actually Jesse Wilkins to the lapped car, Aidan Young and Paul Webster. They're the ones that are battling that's coming up on this car that's just had the incident, and let's see how they negotiate it through the kink and into the chase now.
And no rear wing on that Ferrari either for the driver of Ola Daniel, the Hungarian, as we quite correctly got pointed out to us on commentary last week. So already wide. Oh, that's a big moment then. Adam Watson's moving ahead of Alexander Kurtz, and here comes the good doctor, Dr. David Baker. Welcome back to the series, David. He was away at Daytona for last week's round, so missed round number 1. Also, Michael Avdoka and Alex Davidson working their way through as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a good example of being caught offline in towards those first couple of turns. There's what happens. Caused Ola Daniel the issue, and the rear wing damage. Car getting well out of the way. That was Stephen Koenig, as he's not had the best of days. He's just trying to get out of the way of everyone, but there's limited opportunities to do so through this section.
And here's the difficult part when you are lap traffic, because this series does ask drivers who are being lapped to help facilitate the faster car coming through. So Steve Koenig doing his best to get out of the way, but you're quite right there, Connery. There is nowhere to be able to do that. I could tell you further back in the order, Ola Daniels had more issues out there over the top of the mountain, as we're on board with race 1 victor Dino Lombardi, and Daniel is struggling to get that car back to pit road, and he's not going to tow it back, but he's just getting out of the way of everybody.
Trying to find the gap where he won't impede anyone coming down the hill, but looks like he's just about found one. So I guess some decent awareness there to try and find the gap and make sure he doesn't affect anyone else's race. But let's see what's happened here. Ola Daniel, big instant again. Yet more damage onto that car. That's one that's gone from bad to worse for him.
And having no rear wing is probably what caused, was a significant proportion of what caused that incident then. Car onto pit road for a pit stop. That's Ross McFarlane, yeah. So deciding 45 minutes remaining. Now you got to remember the fuel tank for this race, the fuel cell is limited to 70% of what it normally can hold. So 45 minutes is right on that bubble, isn't it, Connery, with a GT3 car around here?
Am I seeing Jax for McFarlane? I believe I may be. So he's taking tyres, and now he's coming back off of the pit lane now. It was an 11.5 second stop, so it's not a full... Interesting. I swear I saw him go up and down.
That might be 2 tyres.
Yeah.
So you could well be seeing 2 tyres being taken by drivers then.
And I imagine you'd be taking the rear tyres. Yeah. Because it's so slick here. So there's no NASCAR situation where it's like, oh wait, it's mostly left-handers, isn't it? We just take left-side tires. No, it's just the traction tires, shall we say, at this circuit at least.
If you're somewhere like Lime Rock, then yes, you're taking one side of tyres because there's literally only one left-hander at that track. But here, it's just so varied as the corners. Yeah, take those traction tyres, get the corner, the bite out the corner. That's what you do need, and it gives you that rear end stability as well, doesn't it? Which is a big thing here.
Yeah, absolutely. You need that punch coming out of the corners to be able to try and maximize your performance and your lap times here. And there's just a lot of gaggles of cars happening out there on circuit. Alex Davidson and Michael Evdoka having a little bit of a swap as there's a couple of bits of slow traffic ahead of them further down the road. Michael Gray having a problem. Was that a slowdown penalty or just getting caught offline? He does dip 2 tyres into the grass there. An instant ahead of them. Big instant ahead of them. That's Bobby Thompson involved and pointing in the wrong direction. And
that's got to be Chatterton. It's got to be Chris Chatterton who was involved in that. He was trying to get past Chris and Bobby. I can understand what Bobby's going to be saying, which is, well, I'm significantly ahead of him, but on corner exit, he's still at your rear wheels there. You've got to leave him the space, and he's just pushed out, hasn't he, Bobby, into Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a lean. Certainly, you kind of have to make sure that racing room is given. Of course, you know, stewards will be having a look at incidents that are reported after the race. Okay, so there's no decisions that are taken during races here as far as penalties are concerned. But yeah, that's one that's definitely going to be looked at, and the stewards will make their decision in due course.
Yeah, just a week's time we'll be heading to the next rounds of the championship as well. So the stewards have to be sharp and on the ball because we've got Silverstone for 2 45-minute feature rounds. So, that's potentially going to affect you at Silverstone, although saying that, Silverstone, Grand Prix venue, nice wide track. If ever there was a track suited to a big grid, it's that track next week.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of space to maneuver, very wide portions of the circuit, plenty for 56 cars. I'm just having a look at the moment. Well, there's going to be a battle on circuit here in just a second. There's going to be Michael Gray and as we had a little bit of a swap there between Michael Gray, or at least something as we see Alexander Kurz. There we go, heading his way through. Just getting my bearings there. There we go. So there's Castellani, Kurz, Gray, and Young all in a bit of a line there and having a little bit of disagreement for position. Castellani taking the defensive inside line for turn 1. Let's see if this compromises him off of the corner, and we'll probably see Kurz draw himself alongside down the straight here in a bit.
Joe Newman had dropped down to 3rd place. He's now back up into 2nd, so he's not giving that one up without a fight. Meanwhile, as you see, this fight continues for 10th and 11th. As behind them as well, you've got Aidan Young, Michael Gray embroiled in in a race of their own as well. So through the cutting, up through Griffin's Mount and Reed Park, which is this here, and then you head towards Sulman Park. Tricky corner. They all are over the top because McPhillamy Park, this is the most difficult corner in my opinion. Through this left-hander, you've got to hit that curb but not too hard on the exit, and then got to somehow try to slow it down through the S's into the dipper.
Yeah, gravity will do its thing as well. The braking performance not as good going downhill, and you just have to try and thread the needle somewhat onto those apexes and try to avoid the walls too, but get as close to them as possible. It's such a fun piece of circuit for the drivers, an exciting piece of circuit, but also a very dangerous one too. It's got the right combination of all of those factors. But then you get to relax just a little bit on this long straight, this long back straight, as you see moves being made in towards the chase there, as we see Adam State versus Joe Newman. That's the battle for P2. State has got himself back ahead, but Newman won't give this up without a fight. Nose to the inside into the final corner, not going to get it done.
While these two are fighting, I could tell you that Jack Sedgwick is almost in Queensland with how far ahead he is. Because, this is what happened to Bobby Thompson after the so this is a rejoin, and he's tried to sneak onto pit road, then turn it around. Where are you going, Bobby? Oh, you're going onto pit road? Okay. That's one way of making it onto pit road, but it's not the one that the clerk of the course would be appreciating.
Did he get I'm interested. Does he get an unsafe pit entry there? Because
yes.
I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah. So that's because that's not the.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I gotta say, like sometimes you never know, but yeah, that's extra time on the stop for certain for Thompson. It's definitely a creative way of getting onto pit lane.
He was 1:01 in the box, so yeah. He got an unsafe pit entry, I think it's fair to say. As we carry on then, 37 and 45 seconds remaining in this race. It's still Jack Sedgwick leading by 11.3 seconds ahead of Adam State, who's now up into second place. A gain of 4 places for Adam there at the front. Joe Newman's down to 3rd place ahead of Adam Watson. That's the 2 Pro-Ams leading their class here right now. Alex Davidson, defending champion, his first week back in the championship after missing last week. I have a funny feeling that he was out at Daytona with David Baker and a couple of the other WSR drivers. As onto the brakes goes Davidson, and well, here you've got 2 aggressive drivers when they want to be. Alex Davidson can give as good as he takes. So can Adam Watson as well. This is the potential of either being brilliant racing or absolute fireworks.
The impossible force meets the immovable object. Let's see how this one works out this time around. As onto another lap they go through turn 1, looking to try and maximize that exit to give yourself an opportunity in towards Griffin's Bend. Davidson probably going to end up tucking himself up underneath here and potentially going to step out at the last moment, or rather right now, shall we say, drawing himself alongside the number 1 card side by side with Adam Watson. Is Watson going to give him the position? No, probably, definitely not. Holds the inside. Pro-Am versus Am, and the Pro-Am comes out on top for now.
And like I say, you either have fireworks or you have brilliant stuff. That was so far good. Let's see if we can see more between those two. Adam Watson, he is the respecter of no egos, that is for sure. And he's got his own Pro-Am championship to fight for here as well, as through McPhillamy Park once again, heading towards Brock Skyline, plunge downhill through the S's, and Dina Lombardi in a dangerous 9th place right now in the Acura. You're seeing those Acuras, Connery, moving forward. Baker 7th, Lombardi 9th, Castellani in 10th, and Aidan Young in 11th, all together in Acuras.
Oh, Watson getting tripped up behind Joe Newman, and here's the opportunity now for Alex Davidson as he's got the run on both of them. Gets disposed of Watson. Where's he gonna go to try and get past Newman? It's to the inside for the kink, outside of the chase, Paul.
Oh, and he's got it. He's done it on brakes. That's that one thing that Porsche is really good at is the brakes. But Joe Newman flashes the headlights at Alex Davidson. Don't particularly know if Alex did anything wrong in all of that. Oh, on the grass there. there for Adam Watson. That was a brown trouser moment for him. My goodness, that was very close. And Newman, was that a little bit of moving under braking, perhaps?
Potentially. I mean, there was a narrow gap to go through, so we'll have to watch a replay of it. But yeah, it's interesting things in just inside the top 10 here, side by side further back. Castellani versus Lombardi. Lombardi getting himself half a car length ahead. He's being pushed right now by Aidan Young. Still has the inside for the right-hander, and Lombardi through. So is Aidan Young. Castellani losing 2 positions in the space of 1 corner.
Yeah, that is big moments there for them. Here's Adam Watson then onto the brakes. That gap is always closing, to be fair to Joe Newman. That was a bit ambitious for Adam Watson.
I saw it.
I'll take back my comments there.
Yeah, I saw it. I thought, oh, that's trying to stick a foot in the door as it's closing. That's that's what that is. And thankfully, nothing came of it in terms of an instant there. You can see how easily that could have happened if there was contact between the two of them. But they all live to fight another day, and fight they will, because we still got a whole half of this race to go.
We certainly do that indeed. In your AM, I can tell you that leading AM is Tom Stanley. That is in 19th place, ahead of the next AM, which is Ben Gregory in 22nd. So Ben, it's his first race back this week, and he is up there in 22nd. Good stuff for Ben in this race. That's 15 places gained for him, so good stuff. Eric Rousseff, goes from bad to worse for him here today. Turn 2 incident at the start of the race, and now the cutting.
Yeah, it's a big shame, because we know what he's capable of in these machines, and yeah, it's just one to forget really for today. We've got other battles going on. Actually, we've got someone, Chris Chatterson, coming down towards the pit lane, so he's deciding to take his stop now. I did notice that there's a lot of Alex Schmidt fans, and they're even starting donating to the stream to show their man on screen. Is that a case of we don't show them until we can pay some more money? No, that's a bit cruel. New lucrative business just opened up.
But to be fair, there is a lot of Alex Schmidt fans. There's a lot of other fans here as well. Pleasure to have you all here in watching this broadcast. I can tell you that your driver, Alex Schmidt, is in 43rd right now after having issues on lap 2. And there's the Project Valerius.
There we go.
Right,
€2 well spent.
Yep, that is €2 well spent.
So if you want us to show another driver, can you also donate to
No, let's not encourage that, please. Hugo's suddenly seeing some big dollar signs in his eyes. Our producer. Let's not encourage that, or else we won't actually be able to show a broadcast. There goes Alessio Bonino. Now, Bonino has been onto pit road for their pit stop in all of this race. The highest placed driver who's been on pit road for their scheduled stop is Ross McFarlane, who's in 23rd.
Yeah, making quiet progress, McFarlane. Let's just say he's found himself a little bit of clear air at the moment. For a stretched definition of clear air when you got so many cars on circuit, but he's running along quite well. We'll have to see where he comes out in relation to where he filters out with relation to everyone else once we see a lot more activity on to pit lane. But it was a call from Ross McFarlane to be able to come down in that early. He didn't like what was happening ahead of him, perhaps quite rightfully so. So he decided, actually, I don't want any part of that. I just want to run on my own. I found a gap, probably, maybe one of my teammates is telling me there's a gap I can fit into, or my telemetry or my apps that I have running that tells me if I pit now, I'll pull out in this gap. But yeah, we'll have to see how the strategy works out. Yeah,
it's a big call. Let's see how it works out for him. As I say, we believe that Ross did take 2 tyres. Davidson then is up into 2nd place now, getting past Adam State. Now, they are out of the same WSR Esports awning, so to speak, but they are in different teams, to be fair. Davidson, of course, in his WSR Esports butt kicker car, whereas State, I can tell you, as there's the move on stream, is the WSR Next Level Racing car.
Yep, indeed. We're sort of playing the waiting game at the moment. We're just waiting for the bulk of the pit stops to happen. We've kind of had around, I would say, about a third of the of stops happen, but we're waiting for the front runners, essentially, at least the top 15, maybe inside the top 20, to decide to come down in, and you know, it could be imminent. I mean, we've just crossed the halfway stage just about a minute ago. This is perhaps the time you want to come down in if you do want to split 50-50, but of course some drivers will take the different decision and try to run the fuel tank as long as possible to then do a shorter stint at the end. So we'll see who goes for what and see how many are in this time, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. As we carry on in this race, Anders Meyer in that plethora of Porsches and of Acuras as well. Adam Watson deciding that now's the time to head on to pit road and take a pit stop. And of course, the big Alex Schmidt fan club, by the way. Well, of course, Alex did used to race in the Cupra Leon TCR in the Nürburgring Langstrasse series in AM class, and of course did SP3T as well in a few of the other years as well. So yeah, big fan club, and it shows it's not just Alex Schmidt who's an IRL driver. So too is Bobby Thompson, former British touring car driver. Actually, I need to check whether he's got a seat for this year or not. But certainly, the fickleness of real life racing. Yes. Having to race season. It's kind of the equivalent of paycheck to paycheck, season to season. You don't know where you're going to be. Yeah, absolutely. But it shows how a lot of these full metal racers are able to take their skills into sim racing. Not everybody's successful at it, though. Some miss that seat of the pants feel, and it's vice versa as well. Some can really take themselves from the sim and establish themselves in full metal racing. I mean, look at Lauren Heinrich, for example. You know, he was a Porsche Taycan Esports Super Cup driver in 2019. He's a Porsche Works driver now. You know, I mean, granted, he did have a racing career before that, but finances and things like that got in the way. It shows how you can use the sim to help hone your skills, but also get your name out there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just become a natural part of the progression now, and well, not just progression, different discipline at this point as well. At least that's where I hope things will continue to go. Not just this is a different version of karting, but as we see a big move being made down in towards the final turn, but not committing to it. But just a discipline in and of its own right. Just like how Rallycross is a different discipline, just like how Oval is a different discipline, sim racing. I mean, yes, you can do all those different categories in sim racing, but it's kind of a discipline on its own as well.
Well, I mean, you look at the Game to Glory series that Red Bull, the Oracle Red Bull Racing team, did with Sebastian Job this winter that they put out on YouTube. By the way, if anybody watching this broadcast has not seen that series yet, please do go and check it out. It is an excellent series for that. So it shows how Sebastian, who has done real world racing, he raced in the Formula Ford 1600 series in the scholarship. He was on a scholarship with that series a few years ago, able to apply himself and actually drive a championship-winning RB8 at the Red Bull Ring. I mean, if that's not bucket list things, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I'd give anything just to be able to sit in one. Let alone...
I can genuinely tell you, I cannot fit in an F1 car.
You can just breathe in a little bit. Just.
I'd need to do more than breathe in.
But it's really
like about 30 kilos. Oh, big accident. Dino Lombardi and Anders Meyer together on the exit of Forest Elbow. And the two of them get together, and it's Lombardi who's around. And Anders Meyer losing positions, and I can tell you that Lombardi has got mechanical meatball warning flag.
It does. That was an instant that sort of came out of nowhere. I'll be completely honest, and having to, nurse that car around back to the pits now, side by side, as we see Castellani trying to make some progress here, and just getting bashed around a little bit now, side by side, down on towards the final turn. And, well, we can breathe a little bit easy just for a moment, but they might have it on again in towards turn 1 here.
Lombardi, though, the fortunate thing for him is that it's relatively close to the pit entry. So you're getting that mechanical meatball flag towards the end of the series. So towards the end of the series, end of the race lap. I'll get there eventually with my words. As drivers heading on. Now, here's we go. Here's Castellani. Oh, Meyer.
He hit the wall.
It's hitting the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, the track doesn't go out that far, and Meyer having to push out into the wall, and then obviously Lombardi not expecting him to be there essentially, and just with an awkward coming together, coming out of the corner, and it ends up on what you just saw on screen. So yeah, that one's an unfortunate one. I don't think there will be any stewards action taken with regards to that. It's just a racing incident as far as I'm concerned. Just pushing a little bit wide, hitting the wall, then collecting the other drivers. Oh, a little bit of a sketchy situation, a close situation down in towards Griffin's Bend. Yeah,
that was one of the full tilt drivers there pushing it. Michael Gray with Jack London and Will Guthrie making his way through now in the Porsche. So London not having the best of time out there at the moment as we carry on with this race. 22 and a half minutes remaining in this race, and we are getting towards the end of that pit stop cycle, Connery. If you're Jack Sedgwick, you're looking ahead and you're thinking, well, there's not really that much traffic in my way, so I might as well go and run the tank dry.
Yeah, why wouldn't you at this stage? It's he's been running incredible lap times. He hasn't really come off the pace a little bit, which is surprising considering how hot it is out there in terms of the track temperature. His lap times are remarkably consistent and remarkably good as well. So yeah, I'm not really worried if you're Cedric here. It's 13 seconds back to Alexander Davidson, and so even if he does pit now, it will be a pretty short stop, all things considered, and back out. It will still be towards the top of the order, with those cars still having not pitted yet. So, yeah, very comfortable position for Cedric to be in. I think as Webster heads his way down the inside there, battle through the chase. But I imagine if you're Cedric, there's really no pressure on for the end of this race at this point in time, and run the tank dry. Just make sure you can come out in some clear air.
As Lombardi trying to recover then did end up dropping down to 22nd after the pit stop, but has now moved up to 20th place behind Paul Webster. Webster, of course, has pitted as well. So Lombardi's got to make some moves here. It's not just a case of, there's going to be some drivers coming onto pit road. He has got to make some moves here to work his way forward.
Yeah, there's no ifs or buts about it. Really, he's got to put pedal to the metal, and there's David Vey getting himself a little bit of a swap around there, I believe, with one of the cars ahead. He's going to drop off the pace. Actually, he's not looking particularly quick at this point. Maybe he's just nursing a little bit of damage, perhaps, as that car that went through has really stretched their legs.
Certainly has, and yeah. It's been one of those days today for quite a few of your drivers. David Vey, 14th right now in that McLaren in the Hyperion car. A few cars back, though, is Anders Meyer, and then it's Alexander Kurtz, Michael Gray, and Will Guthrie that you're seeing on screen right now. This is the battle for 17th, 16th as well. As big moment there, coming out of the Forest Elbow onto pit road. David Baker, your latest visitor the good doctor, doing his calculations and decided now is the time to pit, as here comes Lombardi.
Lombardi on Webster, coming down the back straight now. Lombardi is clear and ahead. Is there any response from Webster on the brakes? No, just a little bit too far back to be able to go for it, although Lombardi did commit quite a bit to the corner there. I was afraid he was going to wash out and get himself caught on the curb there for just a second, but he was able to gather it up and continue on going. We got a couple more cars down on towards the pit lane too, as well as David Baker, who we saw. We had Josh Boot, David Vey, Tom Stanley all coming down in now. So I guess this is as big of a pit bike as you're going to get. But it's been weird over the course of this race because they haven't really all come down in as a group. They've come down in at drips and drabs.
Yeah, it has been a little bit unusual, as out of pits comes David Baker, and he's got Alex Cohen alongside. And Cohen, wow, that was a confident turn in there from Alex. That allows him to stay ahead of David. Now, Cohen pitted. This is his 17th lap on this stint now for Alex, whereas David Baker is literally just out of pit road right now. So if Baker did take tyres, which looking at his time, I think he did, he's got to get those tyres up to temperature and pressures here in all of this. We still heard pit stops from Cedric, from Alex Davidson, Adam State, Michael F. Durkle, Lorenzo Castellani, and Aidan Young, Joe Newman, and also Jack London. Oh, so there's a pit stop on your race leader. Onto pit road, Jack Cedric making his pit stop.
Should be a simple affair for the driver of the number 11 Corvette. Just bringing that car down and in. It's Alexander Davidson's also going to come down in. You see Aidan Young also deciding that now is a good time to pit as well. Adam State actually does stay out at least one more lap, but the rest of the leaders pretty much coming down in now. But Cedric accepting a couple more seconds station on the pit lane before he heads himself back out. Yes, so 14 seconds. He's going to be off and away. Let's see where he comes out in relation to everyone else. But shouldn't be too much of a problem given the buffer that he had at the, when he came down on towards pit lane of plus more than 10 seconds.
And do you know what? I don't know if it's planning or because of the way that he had that gap. I've got a track map up, and I can tell you Jack Cedric is into a nice bit of clean air as well. So he's not had to contend with any traffic on pit exit or up over the mountain. So he is in a very, very strong place as he comes through the cutting once again and heads on up the mountain and carries on. Meanwhile, Adam Watson and Aidan Young are together for 7th and 8th, and Adam Watson now clearly ahead of Joe Newman after the pit stop. So Adam taking that pit stop about 6 laps earlier than Newman has paid out for him.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Great call, and able to basically leapfrog up the field and be the highest placed non-pro. And well, ahead of quite a few of the pros actually for Adam Watson. So fantastic decision to do what he did, and he's reaping the rewards now with a whole boatload of points hopefully by the end of this race. Still 16 minutes left to go, however, and potentially a bit of defending too, as Alex Cannon and David Baker will probably want that place by the end of this race too.
Adam Watson, who came into this round in 4th place in Pro-Am. Joe Newman leading Pro-Am coming into this week's racing. Will Guthrie, we're on board with them for Full Tilt Motorsport. Down the Conrod straight, you can hear that Porsche, that flat 6 engine, absolutely screaming down the Conrad straight, and here comes Dino Lombardi. You can see him on that rear view camera, and now you can see him in your front windscreen. Dino Lombardi moving ahead of Will Guthrie, and I do get the feeling that Guthrie kind of facilitated that move a little bit to a degree.
Yeah, I didn't really want to fight it too much. He knows he's in a pretty good position for the end of this race, and deciding to take the path of the least resistance somewhat with 15 minutes left to go, as Lombardi charging through, trying to gain as many positions as is feasibly possible. We know he has the pace to do so. That Acura has been incredibly quick. Again, Lombardi, a driver with, well, the only driver in the field with more than 10,000 iRating, and that's a heck of a mark to be able to be accomplished. And now down in towards Griffin's Bed, another position gained there from Lombardi. He is lighting the timing circuits, well, purple, essentially, as he was very close, actually, to his fastest lap on that last one.
Yeah, that was Michael Gray's made the move on there, so gaining yet another position. Through all of this, well, the pit stops have been done. Let's just get you quickly up to speed with where people are in this race. Jack Sedgwick has got a 10.7 second lead over Alex Davidson, your reigning champion. So the last two champions of the series are first and second place. A former four-time champion in Ross McFarlane is in third place in Pro, ahead of Adam State and Michael Avdoka, Lorenzo Castellani and Aidan Young. Eighth place and top in Pro-Am is Adam Watson, before Alex Cohen and David Baker. Your next best Pro-Am is Joe Newman in 12th place. And then it's Michael Gray, who's just dropped down behind Lombardi into 15th place. Your top AM driver in all of this is still Tom Stanley. Really good race from Tom, up 9 places into 22nd here today. And then you look further down, it's Kristander Thasang, who is in 25th. I say that Tom Stanley was in 22nd. He has just dropped down to 23rd, so Ola Daniel making his way past Tom in all of that. And your third place AM driver is Dan McCauley in 29th place overall. So positions changing even on this lap with 12 minutes and 48 seconds remaining in this race. And to the inside, that's quite enough space there for Castellani, but Avdoka is feeling the pressure here.
Yeah, absolutely. Although Aidan Young on the back of this one, continuing to be a little bit of a menace in the Acura that's at the back of this train, and it's causing Castellani a bit of an issue, because not only is he having to focus ahead on Avdoka and trying to get through on him, but busy looking in his wing mirrors too at a very eager 427.
As we go up over the top of the mountain, downhill once again, yeah, Aidan Young is just watching on with keenness in his eyes, looking forward, trying to move forward in all of this. So onto the brakes once again. If you're Adam State, who's in front of oh no, it's lap traffic, should I say, that was in front of Michael Avdoka. That's what made Michael Avdoka feel under pressure there, to down the Conrad straight again. And Castellani now, is this the chance for Castellani to make the move? Lorenzo to the outside, under braking into the chase. No position made just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Castellini getting himself to the inside now for the final corner. Avdoka having to try and defend this one from the outside. Very tricky to do. Castellini very deep. Oh, but he stops on the corner, and Avdoka runs straight into the back of him, and Aidan Young says thank you very much. Picks up the position on the both of them.
I said you buy one, you get one free. That's exactly what Aidan Young got right there. Castellani gets the move done, but there's too deep, hard onto the brakes, overcompensates, and it's Avdoka who ends up in the back of him. And yeah, Aidan Young, thank you very much, see you later chaps, I'm off up the road. We've still got a little bit of fighting. David Baker in 10th place, Anders Meyer behind in 11th, so they'll be fighting to the end here. Okay, it's not been a close race at the very front of the field, but there's been plenty of racing going on throughout the field here in this race. And it's good to see still so many cars running. I believe it's 48 cars still running because we've got Tim Perry, Eric Rousseff, Bobby Thompson, Jesse Payne-Wilkins, Paddy Faulkner, Leo Tregurtha, Arthur Fertel and Adam Tompkins all retired from this race so far. So yeah, plunging down through the dipper, Anders Meyer looking forward at David Baker here, Connery, and it's a question of Baker looking at Adam Watson thinking, I want to get past you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic to watch in the dying moments of this race. Just less than 10 minutes left to go. Back and out very wide indeed for battles a little bit further down your order, and this is going to be the battle between Michael Gray and William Guthrie, I believe, as they climb up the hill slightly. The 92 just giving chase at the moment. Does he step out of line to try and make the move in towards the chase? No, he doesn't, but someone who does is James Boumé down the inside, gets the position done off of Guthrie, and while he's thinking, well, if you didn't go for it, I will.
Yeah, you don't need to ask the Altitude Esports driver twice about whether he wants to make a move or not. Alex Cohen, who pitted early in the race for damage, out of the top 10 now, having to pit yet again to get a splash of fuel to get to the end of the race. But that was really good on the brakes. Mark Fletcher will be delighted to see that move from James Boumé. It's been a very difficult race week for him after his incident in that first race put him all the way down the order, but Boumé on a hard charge back, up 24 places from where he started in this race.
Yeah, just incredible stuff. I mean, we do usually see this not only in the longer races, but in the reverse grid races too, with these big moves being made. But yeah, it's particularly impressive to do a circuit such as this one, where again you can have big problems, especially through this particular section. So well done to him, and hopefully that converts into a decent result in about 8 minutes time, as long as he can keep it on the grey stuff. We're riding on board with James Boumé at the moment as they head their way in towards Skyline with a gaggle of cars further down the road that Boumé would really love to stick himself ahead of, but yeah, you can see how much he's trying to wheel that car around at the moment.
And well, Will Guthrie, we're looking for behind him then onto the brakes. And this Porsche, great on the brakes, but the problem is now it's a little bit of a sitting duck. You saw how Will Guthrie down the Conrad Straight was in the slipstream of his teammate of Michael Gray, but just was not able to keep up and keep ahead of James Boumé. They're going past Steve Koenig, who's going a lap down here, and down into the braking zone once again. Boumé not close enough to make some moves. So yeah, James Boumé, making some moves in this
that
race.
Might be a family member.
He's making a move into the last corner. That's a brave move, and he's made it work. Good stuff on Michael Gray. And that allows Boumé to move up yet another place. I was thinking of David Vey, who's had a difficult day as well. He's up 8 places, up into 33rd after he had issues in the first race as well.
I don't know, James might have a family member called David. It's just that family member's taking control of the car now, I guess. But yeah, lap traffic in the way. Drew Fletcher just trying to get himself towards the outside of the circuit. Has done very well in doing so, although it was a late move out there from Boumé, which is kind of sketchy sometimes, especially if you have a traffic that's really slow coming down the straight. You know, darting out of the way last minute, well, you might be able to avoid it, but the car following right underneath your rear bumper might not. It's like on a race start when someone stalls.
Tom Stanley has had issues out there. He was your leading AM driver. He's dropped down to 28th now, so he's been having trouble as Tom. That means that Kristander Thasang is going to be your leading AM driver in this race. So drama in your AM class as well, and that was Tom getting out of the way of one, and then there was just a load of traffic, and he's pretty much come to a standstill. In fact, he has come to a standstill before then getting away again. I know you wanted to get past and you wanted to be able to let the faster cars through, but you're compromising yourself a lot there, aren't you, Connery?
Yeah, you really are. Let's see what happens to Newman. Oh, just a mistake. Bang, bang. And now you have to, well, I mean, he takes the easy route of taking the toe back to pit lane instead of trying to find the gap to reverse back into. And it is very tricky in that situation, especially as everyone's sort of spread out at this point. We're not in one big long train like we are at the start.
I can tell you Aidan Carter as well in his Chevy has got a mechanical meatball warning flag in this one as well, so he'll be hoping that he hasn't used his one fast repair that the drivers do get in this one. Ola Daniel, give a mention to him. He's had a difficult day, of course, with his Ferrari ending up with that rear wing damage, remember? Well, he's in 19th right now. Yes, it's a loss of positions from where he started, but to only lose 6 places after having significant damage, that's some good going for Ola.
Yeah, really, really good. It's especially considering how, you know, his team has been probably a mixed one at this point, but recovering up into a P19 is not a bad, you know, not a completely terrible situation to be in whatsoever, considering the circumstances. We're having a look at Castellani at the moment, really locked onto the back of Aidan Young at this late stage of the race, and potentially a move being made very imminently, because he caught up, what, about 0.2 of a second on that last lap, is in prime position to try and launch a move coming down through the kink and into the chase here in just a second. But how close can he get before he deploys the move?
And behind them as well is Michael Avdoka and Anders Meyer at Porsche versus Mustang, heading into the chase. Little look to the outside then from Castellani as they two carry on this fight, the two Acuras, as they're heading into the last corner. Now, Aidan Young taking a very defensive line into Murray's. Oh, they're almost contact. There's almost contact between the two of them, giving each other space. But this is allowing Avdoka and Meyer to potentially start closing up to these two.
Oh, Castellani going for the lunge down the inside in towards turn number 1. Contact between the two, and Aidan Young losing out there. Castellani making his feelings known with the move down the inside, and well, he was going to try and get his way through no matter what.
Now, does this give Michael Avdoka the opportunity to get the run? Not quite close enough to get to Aidan Young, but it does keep him ahead of Anders Meyer that we're looking at right now, the Racing Lab Esports driver going up the mountain and looking left, looking right. The problem is, going into the cutting, you've got that little jutting out wall before you're hitting the brakes. It's a very tricky braking zone into the cutting for those drivers, so very much single line through here as well, if you're Anders Meyer, you're seeing those opportunities running out because there's only 1 minute and 40 remaining in this race.
Well, time is of the essence now, isn't it? We've got big battles still yet undecided for some quite significant positions too. Of course, we've been watching this Michael Avdoka, Aidan Young, Castellani gaggle as well, but you know, you've got everyone else trying to join in from behind too. You got Anders Meyer, Adam Watson, David Baker on the outside looking in, a hard charging Dino Lombardi not too far away either. So yeah, this one's going to be pretty hot coming in towards these this final lap here. Anders Meyer having a bit of a run on Avdoka here at the moment. He might be close enough to make a move, almost. Yes, he's going for it.
Yeah, Anders Meyer just there, not quite enough of a overlap there to be able to make the move stick, but Michael Avdoka's driving the widest Porsche 911 GT3R I have ever seen in my life. Bar parks the car on the apex of Murray's. It's a legitimate move, but my goodness, it's one that you've got to rely on the car behind to react to. Onto the brakes and up the hill, up Mountain Straight for the final time in this race now. Adam Watson not able to get the run, and Anders Meyer in front. Is Anders Meyer able to get the move on Michael Avdoka as they go up and over the rise, plunge back down before heading back up again? Maya to the outside. No, that's not going to be enough there. So stays behind for the time being.
Look at the run that Watson gets, though. He might be tempted to try and draw himself alongside. No, thinks better of it. Backs out of it. Simply no space coming up to the cutting to do such a thing. Last lap or not. And now it's all about who can try and maximize their run, maximize their time in terms of this mountain section now. Aiden Young, sort of has the comfortable buffer here at the moment. And there's Maya going quickly through the very top of the hill, through McPhillamy Park they come, eating into that gap up to Michael Evdoka, into Skyline now. Can't really make the overtake through here. You're looking to make it your best exit possible, coming out the forest over elbow to try and get yourself at least an opportunity in towards the chase on the final lap.
And it is that final lap. And, well, I can tell you that Jack Sedgwick has just got one more corner to go. We've barely talked about him all race, but Jack Sedgwick, from lights to flag, here's your race winner here for round number 4 of the World GT Championship Season 17. As we look back then down the order, back to that fight there, Maya and also Evdoka. Maya's not close enough. Evdoka getting a little help from Aiden Young's slipstream. That will be giving him an opportunity, but this is the last chance. Into Murray's corner they go. Can they make it stick? No, Evdoka holds on to it. Behind them, though, Adam Watson, your top Pro-Am driver. He takes a Pro-Am win here in round number 4 of this championship. And then we look back then down the to the AM order. Kristada Fasang for Racing Lab Esports. A good day at the office here for the second race. It's going to be an AM win.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic efforts from everyone involved. There's a bit of a side-by-side battle to the line. Simner and Osborne I saw were very close on the timing screens there. But yeah, just wild stuff. Very tense affair inside of that top 10. But we do have a result. But we'll see how things are effective.
Oh, that was Ben,
oh dear,
Gregory and Luca Monroe getting together. Now, Ben is always one that will wait for the other car in that one. I think that was, I'm going to steal a certain East Anglian commentator of Formula One. It was a day late and $1 short was that one. And yeah, that was asking a lot of that one. And Luca Monroe holds ahead of Ben Gregory, as still fighting all the way to the end through the final couple of corners to go. And good racing further down your field as well. It wasn't just at the front where there was good racing, it was all the way through. But that's all your drivers across the line. So here are the unofficial race results here for round number 4 of the World GT Championship. And Jack Sedgwick for Inex Racing ends up winning by 12.2 seconds over the WSR Esports butt kicker pair of Alexander Davidson and Ross McFarlane. Adam State in 4th is able to hold on to that place ahead of Lorenzo Castellani. Aiden Young only just ahead of Michael Evdoka, who was only just ahead of Anders Meyer, who was only just ahead of Adam Watson, your top Pro-Am for Altitude Esports by SimStickers, who was only just ahead of David Baker. It was really close between the 5 of those drivers. Dino Lombardi was loitering with intent at the back of them as well in 11th. Alexander Kutz in 12th ahead of James Boumé. The recovery drive from James to gain 26 places in the end, the biggest mover in the field. Michael Gray, 2nd place in Pro-Am ahead of his Full Tilt Motorsport teammate of Will Guthrie, who finishes 3rd in Pro-Am, 15th overall. Then Alessio Bonino for 07 Racing in 16th ahead of Paul Webster. Chris Chatterton, Ola Daniel getting a good recovery drive to 19th, and in 20th place with Alex Cohen. Ben Roberts then in 21st ahead of the top AM driver Kristada Fasang for Racing Lab Esports, getting a well-deserved AM win there. Dan Blackwell ahead of Richard Simner, Jack Osborne and Josh Boots. Dan McCauley for Series 1 Racing on the podium in AM, 27th. ahead of Nikolai Agard, who had that incident at lap 1, turn 1. David Vey, who also had issues out there in that race. And in 3rd place in AM and 30th overall, Simon Andre Livingston. Then it's Andy Jones ahead of Tom Stanley, Luca Monroe and Ben Gregor we saw have an instant right at the end there, ahead of Aidan Carter, Taylor Lane, Jack London, Cameron DeBastos, Joe Newman and Alistair Pollock. And then still on the lead lap, Adam Hedgecock and the Alex Schmidt fan club. I think they'll be a little bit disappointed for the Project Valoris car, down in 42nd ahead of Alessandro Toccio, Drew Fletcher and Yaman Chris, who were 1 lap down. Steve Koenig was 2 laps down. Michael Seal, Ben Altria, Tim Perry, Eric Grisseth, all having issues, along with Bobby Thompson, Jesse Payne-Wilkins, Paddy Faulkner, Leo Tregurtha, Arthur Thurtle and Adam Tompkins. Wow, 56 cars that was, Connery, but they've not got long to wait, because next week we're at the home of British motorsport, Silverstone.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't be that much more different of a circuit. Of course, Bathurst, is essentially 2/3 of a street circuit, isn't it? It's that's kind of the way you treat it. But Silverstone, of course, a completely different affair. Lots of places to try and get yourself through at this circuit. It's probably one of the, if not the best circuit for overtaking, at least on the iRacing service. And with over 50 cars on the grid, there's going to be a lot of overtaking, let's just say that. So it's one you definitely don't want to miss. The drivers will have a bunch of fun doing it as well. And of course, you've got the ever-present threat of the British weather doing something interesting.
You certainly have that. But I'm afraid that is all that we've got time for here today on the World GT coverage today. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to Connery Maddock for stepping in here on commentary today. I have been Paul Smith, and it's been a good day at the office for Dino Lombardi and Jack Sedgwick, race winners in tonight's races. We'll see you same time next week for more World GT coverage. But until then, it's goodbye.